Hey, silly goosies. Welcome to But Seriously, the podcast where we dive into life's pivotal moments and how they shape who we are. I'm Taylor, and each week I'll be sitting down with guests from all walks of life to explore how different challenges and traumas can become stepping stones into one's own authenticity. This is not a how-to on healing, rather an open, heartfelt, and even sometimes hilarious conversation amongst friends. We'll laugh, maybe shed a tear, and remind ourselves that life just is not that serious. So lighten up, let go, and settle in as you join us for stories that are as funny as they are inspiring. This is But Seriously. Let's get started. Holy moly, friends. I can't believe it. The first episode of But Seriously is finally here. I am so nervous, excited, anticipatory. Oh my gosh, just feeling like all of the things. This has been an idea I've been noodling on for quite some time, and to finally have it come to fruition is just really surreal. And it's just been such a fun and amazing passion project, and I'm learning a lot about myself and about others, and it's just been, I'm just so happy to finally be putting this out into the ether. I can't really expect people to come onto my podcast and open up and tell their stories if I'm not willing to do the same. Totally don't want to be a hypocrite in that instance, which is why I wanted to make the first episode sort of a who, what, why behind But Seriously and behind me, Taylor, your host, and just sort of give you guys a glimpse into like the why I created this and how I kind of got here, and why it's so important to me. This is not comfortable at all talking to myself. I actually have a picture of my therapist in the top right corner of my screen. So I feel like I'm not just talking to myself on a Zoom call, and a picture of me and my partner Jack in front of it. So I can pretend like I'm in a therapy session with them or an intake session with them and trick my nerves about opening up about myself. So whatever it takes, right? This has been a really fun creative process. This is something I've never really done before, put myself out here creatively. It's all brand new to me. So there's definitely going to be like some awkward moments. It's going to be raw and real, authentic. We're going to get nasty, do all the things. And it's just been such a joy to kind of tap into this feminine side of my creativity. Just as somebody who kind of grew up in a childhood where I was taking care of myself a lot of the times, I feel like I really lean into my masculine side and try to just take care of things myself, move forward, and not really tap into this side of my brain. So it's been a learning curve for sure, but I'm just so happy to finally be here. Honestly, creating the content has been the biggest thorn in my side. If those who know me know I'm like not a social media gal. I'm like a one post a year kind of person. And I don't really know what I'm doing on there. And I was talking to some of my friends who were like pretty great in the realm of Instagram and of posting. And I made the funny analogy, like, I feel like my content's really good and the information's really fun. And I know like I'm funny and all that jazz, but I have no idea how to put it into reels. I don't know how to fucking make a reel. And the analogy I was using was like, it's like if two really hot people decided to film themselves having sex and put it on like Pornhub, like they have their 2010 GoPro fisheye lens. Like the idea is there, you guys look great, but like the way I'm receiving this content is just not great, not cute. And that's how I've been feeling making my reels and stuff. So I'm excited to, continuously get better and grow and learn from this. Well, cool. Really went off the rails quickly there. I'm excited to have you guys here. So, yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in kind of what this brand is about and what I hope to accomplish with it. I throughout my like late teens, early 20s, I felt like I was kind of just in a state of like numbness. I was using escapism through like partying, sex, treating my body unfairly, treating my friends unfairly, treating my family unfairly. I had a lot of misplaced anger. And just wasn't doing anything like constructive or moving through life with intention. And it wasn't until I found my yoga practice at this amazing studio called Yoga on High in Columbus, Ohio, where I met this phenomenal group of teachers that just really shifted my entire perspective on how I was treating myself and in turn treating the people in my life. And it made me just like basically force myself to look into a mirror and be like, whoa, we are not doing good, sis. We got some work to do. And it kind of, through my practice and through finding like different outlets, I guess, and ways of coping, like through breath work, meditation, movement, like going out into nature, doing all those things, I found that there was a lot of unhealed trauma from my past that I was holding on to. And it, even though that's obviously like now in our stages, and I'm in my early 30s, I'm 31, like it just seems so obvious. Like, how did I not know I was hurting? But when you're in that state of like fight or flight and you're just numbing yourself, it's so easy to like just get lost in the sauce, and not open up about your feelings or not figure out like, what you can do to heal. So going through that transition was really empowering and brought me some of the best people in my life. And I'm so grateful for it. You can't have, the highs without the lows. And as I continued my yoga career, I ended up taking a teacher training, which my boyfriend gifted me for my birthday, which to this day is the best birthday present I've ever received. And I got to do the teacher training with my favorite teachers at Yoga on High, which is shout out to Lara, Michelle, Meredith, Adam, and Tom. I mean, you guys changed my fucking life. And it was weird. I never really expected to take it beyond just furthering my education. I was like, oh, this is just a really fun hobby. I'm so excited to learn more about like the philosophy of yoga, the philosophy of breath work, and the history of everything, right? And like I feel like it was really important to me to learn from them because they do a really good job of, especially Martha, who is one of the studio owners as well, of not whitewashing the philosophy of yoga and, making it as authentic as possible, really. I mean, I know I've been using that word a lot, but that word is so important to me. And I was given so much great literature. We had so many good lectures, we had so many good conversations, and it just changed my entire outlook on life and outlook on myself. And from there, I started, the pandemic happened. I started doing the teacher training, I think in 2019 and then to 2020. And we had to switch to a virtual, which it was still amazing. Obviously, it wasn't as great as being in person, but you got to do what you got to do. And from there, I moved to San Diego after my graduation and wanted to continue my education with Yoga on High. So I did a trauma sensitive training. And we'll get into my past in a little bit, but because healing from different traumas and having people in my life who had limited capacity for movements and for just making like not having a really accessible way to work out or ground, it was really important to me to learn about this side of my training. It gave me the opportunity to learn proper language, proper cueing for people, so that if people are sensitive to certain, verbiage or, cues, that I make it more, appealing towards them. Because I mean, in yoga, a lot of times it's right. It's up and down. You're touching your toes. You're, opening legs wide, doing this. And sometimes that language can come off a little intense if somebody's experienced something in their life that could be triggering. So it was really important for me personally to learn how to do those without, causing somebody harm, mental or physical. And on top of that, it also allowed me to learn how to teach classes and make them more accessible for people who might have restricted movements, who might have a disability, who might have, a missing limb or a disease that can keeps them from being confined to a chair or something like that. And that was also very rewarding in itself. Once I completed that training, I was offered a job from a mutual friend, my friend Mario, who was friends with somebody who was opening up a yoga studio, an open air yoga studio at the end of the pandemic, which was so exciting, right? Like, oh my God, we finally get to practice with people. And this is my first opportunity to teach. And I was so nervous. And once I met the two owners, Elisa and Brano, who are like two of the most amazing people I've ever met in my life, it just felt like such a different community. It was open air. We had disco balls, like melodic house was playing, some like deep techno, deep house was playing. It was just like every class was so unique. All of the teachers were so talented. And I really just found my voice there. And upon doing that, I felt like I got a lot of confidence in public speaking. I was opening up more about my own story when I was theming my classes or pulling in my own experiences towards the classes. And I was getting a lot of positive feedback, whether it be from friends, from students, from other teachers. And to me, that was like, okay, this is source telling you, like, you have a great story here. You have, something to offer people, something to help people. We need to dive more into this. So I like picked up some more classes. I did some events there. And then eventually when I moved on from that studio, I started teaching at this gym, Aquavie downtown San Diego, which is like a completely different vibe, but it's such a beautiful facility, and I love it so much. And there's a whole different group of students there, and the feedback was getting even stronger. Like, where can I find more of you? Where else do you teach? Do you have an online platform? Yada yada yada. And when I get feedback like that, that's me being like, okay, like source, like again, is telling you we need more of this. You need to dive into this side of your life. And this idea for the podcast came about, right? Like, because I know I have another job on the side. Yoga's not my only source of income. It's more of like a passion project, and I love practicing, and I love being able to teach people. So um, this felt like the next sort of step into creating my own entity around like the healing space, that I could also keep it really light and fun and kind of do it my own pace. And hopefully eventually, this will lead to bigger things like running retreats or hosting seminars, things like that, doing local events with other local curators here. So that's kind of like the nuts and bolts behind But Seriously. Oh, this is so surreal. I'm just so excited. But yeah, so I guess let's just kind of like dive right in, spill all the tea about the roller coaster that is Taylor Beresford's life. Um, I grew up with I grew let's just gonna be honest. I had a really blessed childhood, early childhood. My dad did really well for himself. He still is a very, very intelligent man, very smart businessman. And my mom and him met when they were both working at a company called Calgon. They were both like in the engineering space, fucking nerds. And my mom left her like tennis professional boyfriend and then married my dad like 6 months later because he just was like offering her the things she wanted, right? Like the kids, the house, the life partnership. And that was really important to her. So they had 6 or 8 months of getting to know each other before they got married. Pretty fucking fast in my book. I mean, me and my boyfriend have been together 8.5, 9 years. We'll be 9 years in November, and we're both like, how are we ever going to decide if we're ready to get married? We're like, what are we, children? Um, I can't be a child bride at this age. My God. Um, and they got married, and a couple of years after their marriage, got pregnant with me, and my mom quit her job, and they became a stay-at-home mom. So I was born in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We lived there for a couple years, like 2.5, 3 years. So like those are my first early memories were in the frigid cold of Minneapolis. And then we moved to St. Louis, Missouri. And we were only there for like 2 years, maybe 3 years. So it was really, really early. We lived in this gorgeous house by a farm. And I remember like riding horses. I remember like one day there was like a cow in our driveway and we couldn't leave. They're really fuzzy memories, but like we had a really nice life. We weren't there for too long and then moved to Cincinnati. I want to say like around first grade, second grade. And that's where we really put our roots in. We were in Cincinnati. We moved to two different places, but we lived in Cincinnati until I was a sophomore in high school. Um, I had changed schools a bunch. And by this point, I had moved around a lot, and I was in and out of a public school into a private school, back into a public school, then to a private school again. So like I was the queen of adaptation. I was the queen of going through changes, already had moving 3 times, changing schools a bunch. So I feel like that's where I definitely developed my kind of in your face personality, if you will. I definitely approach life, especially if I'm out in a social setting, like I just will introduce myself and insert myself into friendships because I can't stand not having friends. And it's been a beautiful thing, especially with the ups and downs of my life. I honestly feel like if I didn't move around in a lot or change schools a bunch, that I wouldn't have felt the confidence in approaching people and making new friends. Um, and yeah, so it was pretty good up until about like third or fourth grade. My mom got diagnosed with breast cancer. My aunt had actually got it first, but she caught it really early. So they just did like a couple rounds of radiation and she was good. And it encouraged my mom to go get tested. And she had cancer, breast cancer, but it was way more late stage. It had spread and metastasized. So she had to get her breasts removed and her ovaries removed out of precaution. And she was very, very, very sick. it was obviously, as a kid, I remember my mom getting the call when we were driving to one of my basketball games and she just like pulled over and I was so frustrated, like, what, I'm gonna be late. Like, I'm gonna like, what are you doing? And I just remember her sobbing, and I was like, oh shit, like, what's going on? So that news was pretty terrible, obviously. But as a kid, it didn't really register. Like, I was just like, oh, she's gonna be fine. People survive this all the time. And I remember like my dad suddenly not being as present, which is really strange. You think like we're a really close knit family. My dad at this point, I always like he traveled a lot for work, but I always pictured him to just be this like really fun loving guy, not around a lot during the weekdays, but around on the weekends or around when he wasn't traveling. And when he was there, he was just like the funny guy wanting to play games, wanting to pick me and Jordan up from school and take us to like the movies or something like that. Like let us play hooky. And so I guess it's when I started recognizing, like, why isn't dad coming home for dinner? Why? Or when he is coming, he's really late or he seems off. And this was definitely fourth grade. So I was like 9 or 10 years old. And my mom started kind of like calling him out on it too. And I started recognizing some really weird patterns. And I brought it up to my mom and she was like, yeah, he's been doing this your whole life. Like, what do you mean? Like, he's never been around. So it was one of those things all of a sudden, like, I started recognizing things way, way more intuitively, that things were off. And it came out a little bit later, within my mom's sickness in that same year, probably within like 6 months, 7 months, that my dad was a heavy, heavy drug addict. He and my mom used to party. They were the life of the parties. They hosted things all the time. I know they used to dabble. I mean, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. But he just really got lost in the sauce and went off the deep end and he got into crack. Um, which yeah, it was pretty jarring. And all of these secrets started pouring out, right? Like once he finally got caught, it was like we were getting phone calls from like debt collectors, his old employee that he hadn't worked for a while because he, was doing some really shady shit at the company. People he owed money to, scary people he owed money to, like all of these things. Like the world just came crashing down like that. It was not a gradual like thing. It was immediate. It was very public. It really impacted me and my sister. It was really embarrassing. It was, you know, it just felt like in a really big abandonment. It felt like a really big betrayal. And now I know like addiction's a disease and, some people's brains are just wired differently. So I do have empathy for that. But what came to light from about my dad's own psyche and his own personality from this made me realize, okay, yes, addiction's a disease, but there are some people out there who are inherently selfish and a little bit maybe narcissistic and egotistical. Because the way he went about his addiction, it was just constant lying. It was constant belittling. There was a lot of rage. There was some really inappropriate, just some abuse that made me really uncomfortable as a young kid. And there was a lot of deflection, like never taking accountability. So like blame was always pointed in other directions. And this was something that stuck with me that, I didn't realize stuck with me for my entire life. It was a really long and grueling process. I mean, this happened in fourth grade. He was in and out of living in our house, having his own apartment, having to move in downstairs, getting in trouble with the law, all sorts of shit, up until my freshman year of high school, which is when my family decided to move to Pittsburgh when I completed that year and we went, and moved my sophomore year to Pittsburgh. So what is that, like 7, 8 years of that nonsense? And I mean, this is all going on while my mom was sick. And so I understand now, her trying to keep the family alive, her trying to keep him a part of our lives. Like she needed that sense of stability and support. And she didn't want to uproot me and my sister's lives. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things. Like I feel like if we just sort of ripped the band-aid, maybe it would have been different. I don't know. But yeah, there was a period of my time where I didn't talk to him. I want to say it was like a year, maybe a year and a half. Because I was just so hurt and so disappointed and just disgusted, and I didn't really understand, and I didn't want to hear his excuses anymore. But then in high school, we kind of started, trying to rebuild the relationship, but it wasn't for the right reasons, right? It was like for me, my mom was better now. She completed cancer, she beat it. It was amazing. I want to say she beat that in like seventh or eighth grade. Um, and she started coming into her own vices, her own methods of coping, which weren't great. Like she was drinking a lot more. She had her happy pills. If you were watching White Lotus, Parker Posey's character was a very extreme version of my mom, but like it cracks me up. And I had so much misplaced anger, so I took it out on her. I defied her a lot. I was constantly sneaking out, experimenting, you're grounded. No, I'm not. Watch me, and leaving, just being. Now I give myself grace. I was being a typical rebellious teenager, but I had a little bit more flavor in my rebellion because I was so angry. And that's kind of when I started wanting to reach out to my dad more. I wanted him more involved in my basketball. Yeah, big baller over here, standing at 5'3". And I wanted him to take me to like my AAU tournaments. And I also wanted him as the scapegoat. Like, well, mom said no, but dad said yes, I'm going to go do this. And, from like 8th grade to freshman year, when me and my dad were talking again and building this, like we're trying to rebuild this relationship, I was exposed to a lot more of his bullshit. My mom and sister are still shielded, or were shielded to this day of some of the things I witnessed and was exposed to and, happened to me. And I'm not going to, get into the nitty gritty details. You guys don't need to know that shit. You're going to, jaw will hit the floor. But yeah, I felt like I was shielding my mom and my sister. I was protecting them from something that my father was doing. And he, it, when you're sick and when you're with anybody who's had a parent or a loved one be suffer through an addiction, they're just really unstable people. There's no sense of security, there's no sense of safety. Everything is just high stakes and it's really, really intense. So I had like a year or two there where I felt like I was just on an island, and suffering through the pain quietly, kind of. And that's when I really started to bottle up my emotions and not really let it show. And it did some really lasting damage on me, like psychologically. And I didn't recognize that until, at the end of my college career. So from there, we ended up moving from Cincinnati to Pittsburgh, just me, my mom, and my sister, and left my dad behind. And there was so much anger there. I mean, I love my life. I was going to a high school called Mount Notre Dame. It was an all-girl Catholic high school. I still have friends from that school to this day. I mean, people I'm like, well, they'll be my sisters for life. And also like was part of a really great basketball team and program. And I just felt like this is so unfair. How am I getting punished for all this bullshit? Moved to Pittsburgh, and I just was not a great person in Pittsburgh. I mean, I made friends, I did all the things, but I just wasn't a great daughter. I wasn't a great girlfriend. I wasn't a great sister. And those, the time there, the short 2-3 years there, like it's definitely one of those cringy moments. Whenever I look back, I'm like, woo, I give myself the heebie-jeebies. But either way, I'm glad that the move happened. I met my best friend in the entire world, Caitlin, there. I had like fell in love for the first time there. And yeah, I had a great education, and we did find our own little slice of happiness. I also got to live really close by to my cousins and my grandparents, and really got to rebuild the relationship with my mom's family, who I'm so, so close with. I mean, like they are my absolute rocks, and they were always like my best friends from there on out. From there, I moved to Columbus, Ohio to go to Ohio State, which I was so fucking excited for. I mean, I was reuniting with my best friends from Ohio. I was like a fresh start, clean slate. Nobody's going to know any of the bullshit of my family except for, my chosen friends there. And I was ready to cut loose. I was going through my first breakup, handling it miserably. I mean, this is like the peak of social media. This is like when it just first came out. And instead of getting a diary like a normal person, I just put everything out on the internet like the cringiest woman alive. And oh my God, it's so embarrassing. I mean, everybody has that though. You look back at your old Facebook statuses and you're like, why are we quoting Wheezy? Like, I don't know, you know what I mean? We're just embarrassing. And I took this opportunity at Ohio State, living on my own for the first time. I was always like a waitress, eventually a bartender. So I like had my own money and all that jazz saved up. And so I was just like, I am going to go balls to the wall. And that's exactly what I did. I got into the Ohio State engineering program and I did not give a fuck. I hardly went to class. I partied every single day. I ate like shit every single day. I slept with whoever, whenever. I was just an absolute monster. Which once again, I need to reframe that wording. It's your typical rebellious teenage years. I just feel like I did it for so long that it was a problem. And, that impacted the relationships I made there, that impacted the friendships I already had. I started not going home as much. So people, my family who were my rocks, people I talked to and saw like almost every single day, I didn't go home at all except for like Christmas. And would only stay for the minimum amount of time so I could go back and start partying with my friends again. I mean, I just was really selfish. And this continued on until I want to say my junior year of college. And it just kind of was like a freight train hit me. I like woke up one day, I was like, I'm fucking flunking out. I've gained like 15, 20 pounds, which is a lot on like a 5'3" person. I know it's like not that much, but like when you're little, it's a big deal. Um, I felt like I was bouncing around from friend group to friend group. I could tell I was embarrassing myself. I mean, fuck. My nickname was Embarrassford. Like they took my last name and added the word M in front of it, so it sounded like I was embarrassing. Like, come on. Um, yeah, Abby, I don't know if we'll ever cross paths again, but thank you for giving me that nickname. You're so right. I was so embarrassing. Yeah, and it was just like one of those punch to the stomachs, a big kick to the face, getting hit by a bus. Like, what the fuck am I doing? My parents were like, we're done supporting this lifestyle. You got to figure it the fuck out. Like we're not going to help you with your loans or do any of this shit if you're just going around getting fucked and drinking all the time. And I'm like, that's fair. That's totally fair. This is an expensive hobby. So I started working at a restaurant, a nice restaurant in downtown Columbus, where I met some really cool people and really just was like making really too good of money. And I was like, I'm unhappy. I have no idea what I'm doing. Why am I trying to be an engineer like my parents? I can't even fucking put Legos together. Like, what am I doing? So I took a semester off and just worked and traveled. Went to Thailand and was like, just open to this whole new realm of, healing and getting closer with nature and finding a new group of people. And I was like, okay, like this is fucking it. I need to lean into, I need to take a step back and figure out what I want to do. And this is about the same time, probably about 3 months prior is when I found Yoga on High, the yoga studio I had mentioned earlier. And when I started feeling it in my body more, when I was taking at least one, sometimes two a day yoga classes and, going on walks and all that stuff, I was spending a lot more time with myself. I was spending a lot more time to get to know myself. And I was like, there's some heavy shit, some sticky shit in your heart, sister, that we need to work out. And I was like, that is it. Like, I'm taking the time. I am, I'm just going to focus on myself. And within 3 or 4 months of not really like, I'm still partying. I mean, I'm not gonna fucking lie. I was still partying, but not nearly as much as I was before. I was like 3 or 4 months without sex. And I know this isn't that long of a time, but I just was like, it was like a really big shift. Like I was just like cold. Like I was just so happy to be not focusing on school, not putting all this energy into these boys that didn't give a shit about me. And I was focusing on my friendships that have always been there for me and people who always looked out for me. So I don't want to say I cut people out of my life. It was more kind of like, I just refocused my energy on the 3 or 4 people, that maybe 5, like that were the core, that made me feel good about myself, that made me want to be better. And when I started doing that, it hit me like it was another like revelation. Like the minute I cut the chaos out of my life and the minute I was focusing on myself, I stopped attracting the bullshit. Like the minute I was like, I need time and space to figure this out. I need to focus on me. I need to heal all of these past traumas that I've been avoiding for so long, that are making me make these horrible decisions for my body, my mind, my soul, and my heart. That's when it just started clicking. Things were coming together. I was losing weight. I forged stronger relationships. I started, working more at the restaurant and making a lot more money. I was traveling. And the most important thing that happened was I met Jack, my life partner. So unexpectedly. I mean, the amount of times we giggle about it, like that we were probably at the exact same, like dingy little house music club or party, and we didn't cross each other's paths, is like crazy. And I met him and it was immediate, like, whoa, I do not need this in my life right now. I'm trying to focus on me. But we were just like instantly connected and gravitated towards each other. We're inseparable. And he just showed me like what it meant to be like unconditionally loved. It was, oh gosh, I look we're in therapy right now together, and we're actually talking about the first time we met and like how far we've come. And it's just like every time I think about our first year or two, it just like gives me little butterflies. We were so young and stupid and cute. Um, and that added a whole new layer of me wanting to better myself. I wanted to become, somebody he was worthy of, as well as like wanting to make this relationship last. I didn't want this to look like my previous relationships, or, situationships, lack thereof. And it made me get closer with my family because I wanted to introduce them to him. I was starting to build those bridges, those wedges turned into bridges. And it just kind of cohesively brought everything together, where I was just becoming who I was meant to be and recognizing these patterns even more regularly. And he just fit into the mold perfectly with my core friend group, with my family. And it was, oh my gosh, it was one of the best years of my life. We just had so much fun. And I, in my life, like when things start to go well, I'm still working on it. I have like this tendency to catastrophically think. Me and my best friend Caitlin both do that. And we were living together, me and her, and I was talking with her, and I was like, I am so fucking nervous. And she was like, what's up? And I was like, it's just too good right now. Like the shoe's got to drop at some point. And she was like, she was like, don't think like that. Try to give me good advice. But she was like, I get it. I do this all the time. Her and I have very, very similar stories. And she was like, you'll be fine. Like, no worries whatsoever. And within, I don't know, I just could feel it. Like my intuition, I was like tapping into source. I was tapping into meditating and like yoga. And I could just feel it intuitively, like something was going to fucking happen. And it was about a year, like a couple months from there. So it's about me and Jack are probably together for about a year and a half at this point. And we got the news that my mom was really, really, really sick, terminally sick. Her and my aunts came to visit me in Columbus. And I thought this was going to be like a really fun sisterhood visit, you know what I mean? But they had some unfortunate news that my mom was diagnosed with ALS. ALS, if you're not familiar, it's Lou Gehrig's disease. I don't know. It's really, really rare. I want to say less than 5% of people in the world get it. And of that 5%, only a 0.5% get the genetic version of it. If you're still not familiar, it's the disease Stephen Hawking had. Basically, it's related to Parkinson's and MS, but they don't really know that much about it. It attacks your motor systems and like your central nervous system. So she started getting like tremors and like feeling like her words were slurring. And that kind of made her want to go see a neurologist, do all these things. They couldn't figure it out. And finally, one of our doctors was like, I think this might be ALS, which is, I didn't really know much about it either, but you have a 1 to 3 year life expectancy after diagnosis. And those 1 to 3 years are hell. You lose all motor functions. You slowly be able to lose your voice. You can't speak. You can't move you basically become paralyzed. You're confined to a chair. You can't move. You can't swallow. So like you're either doing a feeding tube or drinking your food. Eventually you can't drink your food. So it's the feeding tube's the only option. And then eventually you can't breathe. You can't move your lungs anymore. You can't expand. So you basically, asphyxiate to death. And oh God, it was horrifying. I mean, I wouldn't wish this on on the worst person in the world. She got diagnosed right about 2 months into my brand new job. I was still working as a waitress, or a bartender, but I had started my career in sales for this amazing company, Zipline Logistics, where I met one of my favorite people in the entire world, Ben Walker, who is my boss, and to this day, like one of my biggest mentors, one of my best friends. And he was just so amazing during this. I mean, I'm 2 months into this job. I'm a 23-year-old, like nobody, dumb. And he, took me under his wing, taught me everything, I needed to know. And him and my other two bosses, JJ and Andrew, gave me the opportunity to work remote. So I kind of did a hybrid role because my mom was like, absolutely not. I need to know you're going to be okay in this world. I need to know that you have a career after this. Which any parent would do. Right. So she insisted that I was in Columbus Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then I was in Pittsburgh the rest. So what I basically did for 11 months was drive to Columbus at like 3, 4 a.m. on Monday, be in the office, stay there all day Monday, stay there all day Tuesday. And then Wednesday after work, I'd leave at like 3 or 4 and drive back up to Pittsburgh. So I was really only not seeing my mom on Mondays and Tuesdays. But like it felt like I was there all the time because I was leaving Monday morning at the ass crack of dawn and leaving Wednesday night. So I'd always be home for dinner. Um, that was a lot on the body. That was a lot on the soul. That was just a lot on everything. Jack stepped up in a way that some members of my family didn't even step up. Like he crushed it. He was there for me emotionally, my sister, my aunts, my mom. He was such a breath of fresh air. He helped around the house. He helped me move my mom around. I mean, talk about like amplifying my love tenfold. It was just I never expected somebody to uproot their life and help me with something like this. And he came up almost every weekend, if not every weekend, which was so, so, so kind. And yeah, it was a really brutal 11 months. It was really quick yet slow at the same time. And I felt like my role there, I started bottling up a lot more. It felt like my role was to be, bring some lightness to the household, help out where I can, but like treat my mom as normal as possible. And there was still a lot of unsaid things between me and my mom. A lot of pent up anger I had at my previous childhood situation that I didn't feel comfortable to bring up. And also a lot of like, I'm sorry's on both of us to do. And, it felt really unfair to me because when I started making this healing motions forward within the first 6 months, I feel like I only got 6 months of my adulthood relationship with my mom. I mean, every teenage girl fights with their mom. Like, we know this, but I feel like when you're in your early 20s, that's when you guys become best friends again. And I was just at like the tip of that. You know what I mean? I was just starting to try to rebuild that relationship even stronger, and was just trying to start to like want to have those deep and meaningful conversations with her that would heal me and heal her and heal our relationship. And I was robbed of that because of this disease. And so that's when the anger kicked back in again. And I started noticing I was regressing to some old patterns where I was just bottling it up. Everything's fine. I'm good. You're good. And it wasn't until her last couple hours on earth when I was like, I have to fucking say something. Like, what am I going to do? And I just like grabbed her hand and was like, I'm going to be okay. Like, you're going to, like, we're okay. Like, I'm so sorry for being the most angsty teenager ever. And like, I love you so much. Like, I'm going to take care of Jordan. Jordan's going to take care of me. I have Jack. Like, we have the family. Like, everything's good. And, she had very little movements, but she did like reach up and touch me and we hugged and it was so beautiful. So I'm thankful that I got that moment with her. But that kind of, you know, this moment in my life that was another big revelation. Like, you can't keep bottling up your emotions. You can't keep not telling people when you're hurt or when something's affecting you. Because God knows like what could happen next. And that's kind of another big point of this brand too. Like, right. Like, I want people to feel encouraged to tell their stories and encourage people to listen, because one, like, I want, people to have the inspiration. I want people to be able to vocalize their truths. But I also think like the opportunity to hear somebody's story and how to be there for somebody when they're going through something really traumatic or triggering is just as important. Being able to navigate these conversations and then being able to have the courage to speak your truth and the courage to accept maybe when you're wrong, or when you can help and when you can't help and when you just need to listen. And these are things that I wish I would have known or done, in my early to mid 20s. And I think that starting this brand hopefully will help me continue to grow and continue to share, because I still struggle with sharing my story sometimes, or even communicating to people, confronting people when I'm feeling a little bit, on edge about something or hurt by something. So I'm hoping that this podcast, and this community that we grow, will do just that for other people. Yeah. So, fast forward, my mom passed, and I was kind of starting to regress, and bottle up again. My little sister and I had a really tumultuous relationship at this point. There was a lot of her. She had a lot of misplaced anger, was blaming me for a lot of stuff. I was getting annoyed at her, feeling like she wasn't processing her emotions correctly. And I kind of just was like, I'm fucking out. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. With her, my stepdad, all my family. Like, I was just like, I'm going back to Columbus. I'm figuring it out. And I don't even want to live in Columbus anymore. I want to get the hell out of there. And so my partner, Jack, and I, met a really awesome crew in San Diego. I mean, we like found a whole new family out here, and we ended up moving out here in 2020, or 2021. I don't know. And oh boy, it was so good again it was so good. Even though it was the pandemic, we were like meeting so many new people. We were able to be outside all the time because of those, beaches and nice weather. And we just fell into, luckily, a great, like, close-knit family here, and really got to explore different sides of both of our creativities. I was, thrust into the yoga community. Jack's a DJ and music producer, so he was able to meet a ton of new people who throw events, people who throw pop-up parties, and he was just exposed to so much more of that aspect as well. So it was really fueling our souls in a different way. Um, Within a year or two of living here, you know, I was out with my two of my best friends, Lauren and Maddie. I was actually visiting them in LA, and we were out celebrating. I don't know, who needs an excuse to celebrate? We were just out doing something crazy. And my stepdad, who I hardly talk to anymore at this point, because when my mom got sick, he just kind of like, and when she passed, he kind of just removed himself and moved on with his life, which that's some people's way of healing, and whatever you need to do. And we hadn't talked. He was my stepdad for like 8 years. I was really, really close with him, or 6 years, 5 years. I don't know. Really, really close with him. And I hadn't heard from him in a really long time. So I had a text from him at like 1 a.m. my time. And it was just like, I'm so sorry you're going through this again, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just can't stop thinking about your family. And sorry to reposition myself. I'm really uncomfortable. I was like, what the hell could he be talking about? And why is he texting me so early in the morning? Like, it's like 4 a.m. I mean, he's another one. He gets after it. I mean, he's a very, very, very fun man. So I was like, okay, maybe him and his wife are just tying one on, like, whatever. And I was like, I'm not going to engage with this right now. But like, in the pit of my stomach, I was like, what the fuck is going on? So the next morning, boy, oh boy, I was on a bad one. I was hungover as fuck. And I got the phone call from my sister. I called her. I'm like, what's going on? Why did I get this text? And we found out my aunt, my mom's older sister, just got diagnosed with ALS. This was like jarring in a way that it was almost worse than when I found out about my mom, only because I knew what to expect, only because I never ever in my life expected this to happen to me again. Just because it was so rare. So we found out this is genetic, which is, your own mortality sets in. You're just dealing with so many things. Like, who's next in my family that's going to get it? Am I going to get it? Do I need to move home? What do I need to do? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was just bringing up all these memories of my mom's, things that I still probably hadn't processed or grieved properly. It was just like take two. So that whole year and a half, I was going home like once a month to help my cousins and her two kids, who are like everything to me. She's like my big sister, so I call them my nieces, even though they're not. And was just, once again, like, just trying to be the light in the shine in the dark room, trying to be the light at the end of the tunnel for people. And it was really, really difficult. So that year when she passed, we also lost both of my grandparents. So it was a big year of loss. And which was what, last year, 2022, no, 23, 24. And that brought up a lot more, lot more tension in the family, but it did bring us closer again. I mean, me and my sister bridged our gap. We've gotten so much closer. She actually just moved to San Diego, and we are, best friends again. And just lean on each other for everything. So even though like this horrible, horrible thing happened to our family again, I feel like I've never been closer to my Aunt Sherry, my youngest aunt. Me and my cousins are super, super close. Me and my sister are super close. But I was pouring all of my energy into those relationships and fostering those and taking care of the kids. And like, and when I got home, I was so disoriented. I either just wanted to like cut loose with my friends or like wrap myself up in a blanket and read a book. And my relationship with Jack suffered because of it. He, was working at a restaurant. He still is working at a restaurant, in Ocean Beach, where we live. And, things weren't great financially. I was running myself ragged, also working my remote job. And I felt a disconnect in our relationship for the first time in my life. And it scared the shit out of me. So instead of approaching him about it, because I had enough stress in my life, I bottled it up. I regressed to my old ways again. And drove a big wedge in our relationship. He knew something was up. I wasn't talking, and therefore that made him angry. And we just like both were butting heads constantly. And it wasn't until like well, this past summer, summer 2024, where I finally like told him like I'm so unhappy. I feel like either we're coming to the end of our relationship, we're like outgrowing each other, we're not communicating, like I don't know what to do. And we obviously talked through it. We talked through everything. We took some space. We called it our little sabbatical. And then when we came back together, at the end of the year, we started therapy with Dr. Danielle, whose picture I'm still staring at in the front right corner, pretending like I'm talking to her and not myself. Um, and it has been the most rewarding. I mean, we've been in it for 4 months now. It is insane how much closer we've gotten. Like, we kept having this narrative of, oh, we want to go back. We want to go back. We want to go back to what we were. But now we're like, why would we ever want to do that? Like, we've both experienced so much life and loss and grief that, like, we're different people. We have different goals. We have different outlooks now from all these traumas that have happened to us. Like, let's focus on rebuilding. Let's focus on making a stronger relationship and connection. And the past couple of months have just been that exactly. It's not been easy at all. It's been some of the hardest work I've actually ever done. But it's been really, really rewarding. Just another example of how our growth isn't linear. I regressed back to my old ways. I wasn't communicating, and that negatively impacted my life. It also goes to show you, like, your other relationships and other life does not slow down just because more turmoil and more bullshit's getting thrown your way. And I think the more that we're able to talk about these things and the more we're able to open up and share and be comfortable with our feelings, um, that's like when we just continue to soar and continue to rise. Cause like the only thing that's certain about life is that it's fucking uncertain. Like, you can have a plan, you can be moving through all hunky dory, and the next thing you know, you get that terrifying phone call, or, something bad happens, or maybe an injury or whatever. Like, you just never fucking know. Um, so the work persists, my friends. The work never fucking ends. And that's where we are today. All of those things kind of led me to wanting to start But Seriously, led me to wanting to vent about these things, talk about these things, create this community and create this safe space. And I'm just, yeah, I think it's going to be hopefully really powerful and really impactful. I know it has been for me, so hopefully it does the same for you guys. Whew, let me get off my fucking soapbox here. Jesus. If you're still with me, thanks for listening to the trials and tribulations of Taylor Beresford. I hope you had a roller coaster, fun, and sad time. I feel like that's what my life is. It's very fun, but it's sad. It's up and down, but it's so full of love. So I'm really grateful. And I feel like every experience I've had has brought me to where I am today. So, it's something that it's a part of who I am. And then I don't regret anything. I don't think I'd change anything. Obviously, I wish to have my mom and my aunt and all of that back in my life, but these are lessons that have proved to be just some of the most impactful moments and pivotal milestones in my life that have shaped who I am. And I hope I'm making them proud. In fact, I know I am. Well, cool. So at the end of all my segments, I'm going to do this really fun thing where I'm going to call it airing your dirty laundry, where I will ask my guests like a series of questions. Some of them are serious, some of them are fun. And I feel like I have to do it myself too, right? I need people to get to know me on a fun level and not just that horrifying story. Um, so some questions that you can expect to hear this year. I asked at my Lovers Groove event, how would you actually, we'll save that one for the middle. That's kind of intense. So life motto or your mantra. So my life motto, I have two. One I stole from my friend KB. She said it to me and it just resonated so well and made me laugh out loud. It's I'll try anything twice. And I love that so much because if you try something once, you never know, there could be an external circumstance or your mood that day that impacted it, that made you be a hater and made you be salty about it. But if you tried a second time and you still fucking hate it, then you know it's not for you. Um, and the other one is just take yourself 15% less seriously. And that's kind of the motto here at But Seriously. Like, even though life's tough, even though shit happens, even though you might have fucked up or done something wrong, like, boohoo, move on, haha, life is short. We're on a rock floating through space. It's just not that serious. You'll get through this. You'll figure it out. Power through. What else? My mantra, whenever I'm feeling like, maybe if I took a little too many mushies and I'm feeling a little space cadet and not really grounded, I love to tell myself I'm sexy, I'm silly, I'm safe. I say that every morning as well. It's turned into like one that was a joke at a party to like actually something that I say every single day. And I love it so much. So feel free to use it, steal it, because you're sexy, you're silly, you're safe. Um, what else? Okay, if I had a playlist that described my life, I would call it throwing ass but a little sad. Because everybody knows I love to party, I love to be on the dance floor, I love to, get silly on the dance floor, and throw that ass back. But also there's been some really sad moments, and sometimes I like to get into my feels and turn on some sad music and just cry. So yeah, throwing ass but sad. My most played song on that playlist would either be Blue Light by Frameworks if I was feeling a little nostalgic and sad, but honestly, it'd probably be Boda, baddest of them all. Every time that song comes on, I'm the happiest, funnest girl. I feel so hot. I feel so sexy. It turns every mood upside down. I dare you to listen to that song without smiling. Okay, what else? Okay, the lovers group question. I asked everybody, what if your sex life was a weather forecast, how would it be described? And we got some wild out there answers, but mine would definitely be like scattered showers and thunderstorms now. I mean, it used to just be like torrential downpours. But now I'm like, we're comfortable, we're confident in our sex life. We do it. We feel chill. It's not an everyday thing, but when it does happen, ka-chow, lightning. Yeah, so that's the scattered showers. What else? What else? What else? A food that I secretly hate. I am not a big fruit person. It's like I like some fruit, but like apples, pears, oranges, I don't get it. I really don't get it. I think they're weird. I don't want to bite into something with a core. That's just me. I don't know. Least favorite, or like something that's universally loved that I don't personally love. Okay, I have a couple because I'm a hater. Country music. I'm not here to yuck your yum, like do you, but like when I see country musics and concerts or listen to it, I'm like, how do these people have ears? Listen and we don't judge. Meanwhile, then I go there and judge so fucking hard. But do you, boo? Dance in your cowboy boots, kick that dirt up. I just won't be doing it with you. What else? I'm not a big pop music gal, although I love the pop music girlies. Like I think Chappell Roan, Lady Gaga, Miley Cyrus are like the baddest bitches ever, but like I'm sorry, I don't like your music, but I love you. I also don't like the movie Forrest Gump. I mean, like I like it, it's fine, but I feel like it's just like everybody's obsessed with it. Or like it's like when I remember growing up, like it was like everybody loves Forrest Gump, and I was like, it's good. I'm a hater though. I don't know. Maybe that's all. That's all the dirty laundry you're going to get out of me today. I'll answer some other ones later on in the episode. So you can stay tuned there. All right, guys, this has been so fun. Oh my goodness. I feel like I just had the most intense therapy session ever. I feel good. I feel charged. I'm a little shaky, but I'm so glad to have walked through this with you guys. And I'm so excited to share this. I will be releasing the first episode on April 14th. And then from there for season 1, we have a whole array of amazing guests, and they will be released weekly. You can check out the website, butseriouslypod.com, for some exclusive merch, updates on events, and just a little bit more about the brand. Please feel free to follow us on Instagram. It's at butseriously.pod. That's where you will find, links to the website, links to the episodes, and, any other events coming up. If you ever want to take a class with me, I am teaching at Aquavie at 6:30 p.m. every Wednesday or 6:30 a.m. every Thursday. So feel free to just shoot me a DM, whatever. Reach out on the website if you want to be take a guest list, check out the facilities, take the class, all that jazz. But yeah, that's all I got, team. Thank you again for tuning in, and I'm so excited to get less serious with you this year. Bye. All right, you silly goosies. Thank you so much for tuning in to But Seriously. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at butseriously.pod and check out our website for upcoming events and exclusive merch. You can find all the links in our YouTube video description or on our Instagram page. See you next time.